We will not allow the secession of any state. Above all, and before all, the Union must be preserved.
A statesman and a lawyer known as Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809 and was the 16th President of the United States from March 1861 until the day he died. He was the leader of the Civil War. He conserved the Union, abolished slavery, gave strength to the federal government, and modernized the economy. Let's talk about some of the things that you may not know about Abraham Lincoln. When Abraham Lincoln was young, he was a very skilled wrestler. He was defeated only once in nearly 300 matches. The match he lost was between him and a soldier of another unit when he was serving as captain of the company of the Illinois Volunteers. Lincoln used to talk a little smack in the ring. According to the biography of Lincoln by Carl Sandburg, he challenged all of the crowd members after defeating an opponent. The words he said was, "I'm the big buck of this lake. If any of you want to try it, come on and wet your horns." And no one said anything.
Now come on over here. I'm the big buck of this lick.
In 1992, Abraham Lincoln was honored Outstanding American in National Wrestling Hall of Fame. The Hall of Outstanding Americans demonstrates wrestling's pride in those who have used the disciplines of the sport to launch notable careers in other walks of life, such as science and technology, business and industry, government and military, and the arts and humanities. Abraham Lincoln on April 14, 1865 signed legislation which created a secret service. The service was given tasks like to protect the president from things like assassination of the president, which they did protect him very well. They did not, because he was assassinated hours later. The Secret Service was created. Even if the Secret Service was established earlier, the Secret Service wouldn't have saved the president, because the primary job of Secret Service was not to protect the president. Original mission of the secret agency, also known as Law Enforcement Agency, was to combat widespread currency counterfeiting. The Secret Service carried out this duty for another few decades after assassination of 16th President. The assassination of Abraham Lincoln sparked a discussion for a need to have some kind of security for a president. But nothing happened until another two presidents were assassinated. James Garfield was assassinated in 1881 and William McKinley was assassinated in 1901. These two assassinations forced Congress to work on a solution for the security of the president. Presidential security became a duty of the service, starting with McKinley's successor, Theodore Roosevelt. Ben Boyd was one of the best minds of the 1870s in counterfeiting money. But problems for the gang of which he was the master counterfeiter arose when he was imprisoned, and very soon their supply of counterfeit money was almost gone. To survive, they needed a plan to free their gang member, Ben Boyd. This is when the leader of the crew, known as Big Jim Kinley, made a plan of stealing the corpse of former President Abraham Lincoln and blackmailing the government until they are agreed to free Ben Boyd and pay them $200,000. This may have happened, but it didn't, because a person who knew about the plan got drunk and did something he shouldn't have. He told the whole plan to a woman while he was drunk. The woman then told this secret to whole town, and news spread very soon all over the town. The gang of Kinley left the city as soon as possible. Kinley moved his headquarters to Chicago, where he found Lewis Swaggles, who patronized the saloon Kinley was operating. By this gesture, Lewis earned a place in the gang of Kinley. But the thing which Kinley didn't know was that Lewis was actually a Secret Service agent. There they made all of the plans again from the very start, and the date which they set for to steal the corpse was November 7, 1876. This was an election day, and they did know that there would be no one at the cemetery, because everyone would be waiting for the votes to be counted. Little did they know that there would be 8 detectives hiding nearby. They went to the cemetery and saw the padlock of the iron door of the tomb, pried the marble lid of the sarcophagus, and attempted to lift the heavy wooden coffin. An order was given to the Lewis to bring the horses and wagon up to the tomb. When Lewis got the order, he alerted the 8 hidden soldiers nearby. They rushed towards the tomb, but robbers were far away, almost 100 feet, and due to the darkness, they weren't able to see anything. And the robbers escaped through the east gate, only to get captured again 10 days later in Chicago. Robbers were found guilty and were sentenced to 1 year in Joliet State Prison. John Wilkes Booth, the man who assassinated the Abraham Lincoln, had a brother. His name was Edwin Thomas Booth, who was an American actor and performed in many Shakespeare plays throughout Europe and America. Robert Lincoln, the son of Abraham Lincoln, was a student at Harvard and was taking a break from the semester to join the Union Army while the Civil War was at its peak. He was waiting for his ticket on the train platform, and due to a large number of the crowd, he wasn't comfortable because people were purchasing their sleeping car places. The train began to suddenly move, causing Robert to move off his feet, and he fell into a narrow gap between the 2 cars and platform. A gentleman nearby quickly caught Robert Lincoln by the collar and saved his life. When Robert saw towards that gentleman, he recognized him immediately, that he is Edwin Booth, the man who is master at playing Hamlet. Booth didn't know that the man who he saved is the son of the president who he voted for. A letter of gratitude was written to the actor afterwards. Abraham Lincoln invented something that would lift boats over shoals and obstacles in a river. On May 22, 1849, Abraham Lincoln received patent number 6469 for that invention. The idea for that invention came to his mind when he was going from Massachusetts to Illinois by a boat across Great Lakes. The boat on which he was traveling got stuck in a sandbar, so the captain improvised lashing empty barrels to its side to buoy it over the barrier. This was an improvement over the old method of removing cargo and people from the boats. When Lincoln arrived home, he couldn't get that out of his mind, so he invented something that would be able to accomplish the same goal. He brought his wooden model of the invention with him when he returned to DC and applied for a patent, and became the only president to hold a patent. Abraham Lincoln was Commander-in-Chief of the Union Force in the aftermath of the Battle of Fort Sumter. He proved himself a great leader who also had a passion for machine tools and had an interest in artillery that was used by his Union troops. He widely attended artillery tests and cannon tests. Lincoln test-fired around the White House when it was illegal to fire weapons in the District of Columbia. Jonathan Dillon was a watchmaker and Irish immigrant who worked for M.W. Galt and Co-Jewelers in Washington, D.C. On April 13, 1861, he was repairing pocket watch of President Abraham Lincoln. He heard about the attack on Fort Sumter. He was screwing the dial of pocket watch, and when Mr. Galt announced the news, he quickly unscrewed the dial and wrote on the metal beneath with sharp instrument. Jonathan said he wrote, "The first gun is fired. Slavery is dead. Thank God we have a president who at least will try." This was revealed 45 years after the incident when Jonathan Dillon revealed this story to New York Times. Except that wasn't the exact message written in the pocket watch. The Smithsonian Museum opened the watch and they found something like this. Jonathan Dillon, April 13, 1861. Fort Sumter was attacked by the rebels on the above date. J. Dillon, April 13, 1861. Washington, thank God we have a government. John Dillon. Abraham Lincoln imposed the first federal income tax on August 5, 1961. by signing the Revenue Act because they needed money to pursue the Civil War. Lincoln, along with Congress, imposed 3% tax on annual income of over $800. The income tax law was repealed by the Revenue Act of 1862, which replaced the old 3% tax on annual income over $800 to 3% tax on annual income over $600 and 5% on annual income over $10,000.